Before we get started with today's review, I wanted to let you guys know that I am a Ubisoft partner on XDefiant. This means that I have a creator code in the shop, they gave me the Battle Pass for free, and they also send their creators free bundles and X coins to use. Ubisoft does not, however, pay for anybody's opinion. In fact, they are very open to honest feedback and criticism, which is what we're going to be doing in today's video. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Season 2 of XDefiant. Here in this video, I'm going to be giving my honest first impressions of Season 2. We're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and even the downright ugly when it comes to Season 2. So without further ado, let's just jump into it, because as you guys can see here, we have a brand new faction, which I'm playing as, a new submachine gun, the PP-19, which I'm using, and we're playing on the brand new map Waterfront. Let's start things off here with the new faction, the Highwaymen, because in my opinion, the Highwaymen are freaking awesome. I love having new factions in XDefiant. We had the GSK added in Season 1, now we have the Highwaymen here in Season 2. Having a new faction is great because it adds new abilities to the game, and new abilities mean a meta shakeup, and everything just changes having that new faction being there. The deployable turrets are almost like having another teammate. I love these things. You toss them down, and I'm having fun playing on all these different maps and trying to find better locations for my turrets to try to maximize them, you know, trying to defend these certain objectives or hold down certain choke points of the map. They're really fun, and they're also really powerful, but they're also incredibly counterable. I think I streamed like 8 hours of Season 2 yesterday, and I had some matches where my turrets were going off. I was just getting kills after kills after kills, tons of assists as well, and just locking down areas, where other matches where the other team was a bit more competent, my turrets didn't really serve that much of a purpose. You know, if you have one person on the other team playing DedSec and they're hacking your turrets, well, now suddenly your turrets are a detriment because they become the opposing team's turrets. You can also just throw an EMP grenade at them. You can also just straight up shoot your gun at them and probably kill them before they can kill you. They're good, but they're not too good. I think they're a downright balanced ability, and they're pretty fun to use as well, so that's a pretty awesome addition to the game. We then have the grenade launcher here, which I haven't really seen a whole lot of people using it. I tried messing around with it quite a bit, and the grenade launcher itself is not that powerful. It's not always going to be a guaranteed one-hit kill, and it has really bad arc, which means you have to aim really high in the air to get any distance whatsoever. So if they had to add a grenade launcher to the game, the way they added this one is probably the best way to do it, because it's not that powerful and it's also kind of hard to use, while at the same time, if you land your shots just right, it can pretty much guarantee you a kill. But overall, for having added a grenade launcher to the game, which typically people hate, this has not really been game changing or game breaking in any means, so I think they did a pretty good job there. And then we have the passive. We'll talk about the ultimate here in a second, but the passive is something you're going to notice a bit more when it comes to the Highwaymen. Basically, every time you get a kill, your fire rate goes up and your reload speed goes up. It goes up incrementally. Your first kill, you're going to have a slightly faster fire rate, slightly faster reload speed. Your second kill, those speeds go up a bit more, and then your third kill on the kill streak, you reach your maximum bonus. And I was curious, so I decided to go into the firing range here to do some testing to kind of see how the Highwaymen passive compares to a regular gun, and also how it compares to rapid fire. I chose my M4 here. On the left hand side, we have no attachments whatsoever. In the middle, we have only rapid fire, and on the right hand side, we have no attachments, but we have a maximum Highwaymen bonus. As you guys can see here, the Highwaymen, when you're on a 3 kill streak, essentially gives you rapid fire. Like, these things are so close, they may not be exact numerically, but they're pretty damn close. It's almost as if you get a free rapid fire attachment when you're on a 3 kill streak while using the Highwaymen, and of course you have a slightly faster reload speed. So as you're going on streaks, it feels really good to be zipping around the map and having your guns feel a lot more lethal. There's something nice about every time you get a kill as the Highwaymen, you hear that chainsaw rev a little bit. I will say, when you have your maximum bonus, having it kind of cut off your HUD and remove some of your peripheral vision, I'm not really a big fan of that. I'm not really sure why that was added to the game, but the passive does feel good and it's very fun to play with. And then the ultimate here, you basically get this chainsaw gun that shoots out these saw blades, very similar to like Borderlands 2 if you guys played games like that. And what's interesting is those saw blades will ricochet off of walls. So if you go into an objective and you just start spamming these things, sure, they're inaccurate, sure, they're bouncing around aimlessly, but typically they'll pick you up a bunch of kills. It's very chaotic and very fun. Of course, you can also just straight up aim them at your opponent, and it will go through your opponent and continue to hit more people and then bounce and ricochet off of walls for a short period of time. Just overall, the new faction here is a huge win for the game. I think it's really fun and really interesting without being overpowered. Again, I've played probably 8 to 10 hours so far of Season 2. I don't think they're overpowered. I think they just fit in really well. They complement and they counter other factions in the game, while at the same time, some other factions like DedSec, for example, completely counter this faction terms of getting rid of their turrets, and you have the GSK who can throw down their trophy systems to get rid of the grenade launcher. Like, everything is about checks and balances when it comes to faction balance here, and I do think the Highwaymen fit very well into XDefiant so far. Next up here, we have the brand new map Waterfront. I will just quickly comment on this. At first, I did not like it, like, really at all. When I first played this map, I hated it. It reminded me of old Infinity Ward map design. This image right here was posted way back in the OG Modern Warfare 3 days, and I still think it reigns true. At first, this map seemed to really fall into this trap where everything is rounded. There are 3 distinct lanes, but those lanes have so many ways in and out of them, and some verticality here and some lower levels there, and just, it seemed like it was a very random and chaotic map at first. I did not like it whatsoever, but I will say, as I continued to play the map and I continued to try it out in different game modes, it started to feel a lot better. I do think it plays much better in Domination and Occupy as compared to game modes like Team Deathmatch or Hotshot. I think it plays excellently in Bomb, which is the new Search and Destroy game mode, which we'll be talking about later on. But overall, Waterfront did grow on me, though I think I'm one of those people that just does not like playing game modes like Team Deathmatch or Hotshot. Like, I want a proper objective for people to go to, because without that, there's no reason for people to move. People just run around aimlessly, and on a map like this that does have a lot of rounded edges and lots of cover everywhere, it can feel very chaotic and very random. So overall, the map is solidly okay based on my experience. Next up here, we have the new guns, which you guys have been watching the PP19 throughout this video here. This gun is an absolute monster. It feels too soon to say whether or not it's OP, but it is tier 20 of the battle pass, meaning you can unlock it relatively quickly. It will feel bad if you get the battle pass and you hop on in season 2 knowing you have to get through 20 battle pass tiers to finally get the new gun, but once you get it, you're going to find it to be a pretty solid submachine gun that is very fun to use. The other weapons I've not yet unlocked. The Spaz 12 is at tier 50, and then the new L86 is at tier 80, I believe, which is really far into the past right there. So unless you buy your way through the entire battle pass, it's going to take quite a bit of grinding to get up to the Spaz 12 and to get up to the new light machine gun. So I can't comment on those guns, but I will say the PP19 feels pretty damn good. And when it comes to the battle pass itself, I will say I do have a creator code in the shop. Feel free to use it if you guys would like to. It's code NerosCinema. It's right there. I will say that despite having that creator code and any inherent bias that might come from that, I do believe that the battle pass here in season 2 is a lot better, and it's also a major step up than what we had during season 1. I would say that during season 1 there might have been maybe 5 things on the battle pass that I really liked. For example, you had the lightning skin for the Kaplan character for the GSK. You had the rubber tucky skin for the ACR. I like that skin quite a bit. There was like the Valkyrie P90. There was a couple of other things in there, I'm sure, as well. But overall, the season 1 battle pass felt pretty lame for me personally. When we look at season 2 here, they definitely upped their game a lot more because there's a lot more animated skins for your characters. There's also a lot more interesting weapon variants and weapon blueprints. So overall, I do think the battle pass is an upgrade. There are a number of filler tiers in here. Like, I don't know. I don't like it when there's like, oh, here's the yellow camo for a random pistol, or here's the purple camo for a random submachine gun. It's like, dude, nobody is ever going to equip that. It feels bad even unlocking that stuff in the battle pass. But again, compared to season 1, there's a lot less filler, and overall, I do believe the rewards are better. But again, I have a creator code. There's a bias there, so let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. Now, before we start talking about the bomb game mode, I would like to say that the UI updates are something that I'm a big fan of so far. Overall, things just look a bit more crisp and a bit more clean when you're playing the game. We have some brand new icons, and while no, we don't have kill cams yet, now when you die, you can actually see the overall weapon and like everything that the person used when they killed you. It would be nice to know exactly what attachments were on the gun, because sometimes, you know, you're still confused looking at the image, like, okay, what foregrip was that exactly? What stock is he using? But still, this is definitely an improvement compared to what we had back during season 1. But the big thing about these little death cams, or these little death screens that we have here, is the netcode causing me to see a whole lot more of them. So they said in the patch notes going into season 2, and this is straight from the blog post that they put out, they say that they improved an issue where dying players who squeezed off final shots at an enemy weren't inflicting damage on that enemy. So essentially, for a while with the XDefiant, apparently you might have actually won a gunfight, but you just weren't doing damage for some reason. So they apparently are working on that. They're apparently fixing that, and the end result is a metric ton of trading in this game, and that is the biggest thing. I can't begin to tell you how many times I have traded kills since season 2 started. 50 times, maybe even more than that. Like, it's actually pretty crazy, and that's a lot to get used to. But they did say in the patch notes that they improved an issue. They didn't say they fixed the issue. They say they improved the issue. So hopefully they're going to continue to adjust this, and hopefully trading does not happen nearly as much as it's happening right now, because it just just seems random. Like, I'll be up close, I'm using a submachine gun, they have an assault rifle, yet we trade. And it's like, do we have the exact same time to kill? Did he miss the exact same amount of bullets as me? Or how does all this work that we're trading so often? It feels really wonky and really weird. But one thing that doesn't feel bad, I'm gonna straight up tell you guys right now, is Bomb, the new search and destroy game mode. Holy hell, it is wildly fun. This is basically your quintessential search and destroy game mode. It's the exact same search and destroy you've seen in pretty much any other game out there. What they do is every single round you switch sides. So if you start on offense, next round you'll be on defense. You have 2 bomb sites on the map, and they do limit you to 1 ability per team, which I think is a really good thing. So for example, if I'm in your lobby and I choose to play as the Phantoms and use the mag barrier, well, nobody else on my team can use the mag barrier. You can use the Phantom riot shield if you want to, but you cannot use the mag barrier. I'm the mag barrier guy. I was skeptical going into this to see how search and destroy would work in a game like XDefiant with all these different abilities, but I will say after having played it for hours and hours, it just plays really well. It reminds me a lot of things like Black Ops 4 search and destroy, or maybe even Black Ops 3 search and destroy. Basically any COD game that had specialists, it kind of feels like that. It works, it feels good, and I can't tell you how interesting it is and how much of a breath of fresh air it is to have all these maps, which we've been playing forever, well over a year really, if you think about it, going back to all the playtests and stuff like that we did before the launch of XDefiant. Going back to a map like Noodleplex and playing search and destroy on for the first time, it's like you're playing a whole new game. You know the map, you've played it hundreds of times, you know it inside and out, but you've never played it in search, and so now it just changes up everything. And of course, having the peaks and valleys of a one life game mode, that is also incredible. I've always been a big fan of search and destroy in games like Call of Duty, and having it here in XDefiant is awesome. Weapon XP is not as good in here as compared to Team Deathmatch and game modes like Domination and Occupy, but they did try to balance it a bit, so you're not lacking too much on weapon XP, so you do have some form of progression there. This game mode feels really good. There are some tweaks that need to happen, however, and I think the big thing would be just the overall UI. For example, when the bomb is planted, there's no countdown. You just have this bar here at the top of your screen that kind of slowly empties. I think it'd be much nicer if we had a proper countdown number, and also the player numbers as well. This might be a personal taste thing, but for me, just having numbers at the top of your screen is a lot more helpful than having 6 boxes which are vertical for some reason, and then having each player represented by a random box, meaning you have to quickly look up and quickly count how many players are alive as compared to just having a number being there. I mean, obviously it's not hard to look up and just see exactly how many players there are. You can do it. I mean, you can count to 3, I hope, but I'm just saying it would be nicer if we had actual numbers for the countdown timer on the bomb, and if we had actual numbers for the number of people that are alive on your team and the other team. I imagine this is something they're going to be addressing over time, but overall, bomb or search and destroy, wherever you want to call it, it's freaking fantastic here in this game, and I definitely think you guys should all give it a try if you're interested in that kind of a game mode. In fact, I do believe a bunch of my friends are going to be coming back to XDefiant now, just because playing search with your friends is one of the most fun things you can do in gaming, and having it here in XDefiant is a really good move for the game going forward. Next up here, we have something that might be good for the game going forward, but in the short term, I don't think it's a really good idea, and I almost made an entirely separate video dedicated to this, but I'm going to put it here in this video because it definitely belongs in my overall review and impressions of XDefiant Season 2. We have the new camo, right? It's called Pyroclastic, and at first I'm like, oh, you just have to get your gun up to level 500. I mean, that's a pain in the ass, but I kind of figured they'd add a new camo, right? Then I read the tooltip, and I'm like, oh no. This is like the dark matter of XDefiant. This is kind of where we get to the ugly aspect of the update, at least for me personally, and I hope you guys hear me out on this. To unlock this camo, which subjectively I don't think really looks the best, that's just subjective though, you guys can leave your own thoughts and feedback in the comments on it, you have to get 23 weapons up to weapon level 400, and this includes 4 assault rifles, 4 submachine guns, 3 shotguns, 3 light machine guns, 2 marksman rifles, 2 sniper rifles, and 5 secondaries. 23 weapons total, 18 primaries, 5 secondaries to weapon level 400. That is absurd. And so I wanted to go ahead and do is just, we're going to get rid of the secondaries here for a second, right? If we only count the 18 primaries, we're talking about 7,200 total weapon levels just to finish up those primary weapons en route to getting this camo. That is pretty crazy. And so I'm kind of curious here, exactly how long does it take per gun? If there's 18 primary weapons, about how long would it take? And what I decided to do was some quick math on my own account here and take my own playtime and my own weapon levels and just try to calculate how long this might take and how big of a grind this really is, and the results are pretty freaking insane. So if I go through and add up every single primary weapon that I have leveled up so far here in XDefiant, I come out to 2,817 weapon levels out of the 7,200 that are required, meaning I would only be 39% of the way done with this camo in all of my time playing this game had I been playing optimally. And by optimally, I mean only using those 4 assault rifles, then only using those 4 submachine guns, then those 3 shotguns, and those 2 snipers, and etc., right? If I were playing optimally, I would only have 7 of the 18 weapons done in 80 hours of playtime. That translates to roughly 11 and a half hours of in-game playtime to get a gun from level 1 to level 400 for me right now, which means it would take 207 hours or roughly 8.5 days of playtime for me to finish up just the primaries. Now, mind you, this playtime is only in-game playtime. This does not take into account the time between matches, which, let's be honest here, can sometimes be quite lengthy, and it also does not include the 5 pistols that you have to get up to level 400. Now, admittedly, the pistols do level up a lot faster in this game, but without XP boosters or a double XP event or a small map playlist, the pistols are still going to take a good amount of time, so I don't think it's unfair to take that initial 8.5 days of playtime grind and round it up closer to 10 days of playtime for all the waiting you have to do, as well as working on the pistols themselves. 10 days of playtime for me to earn this camo, if done optimally, is one hell of a grind, to be perfectly honest. And I'm not usually one that shies away from that kind of thing, but here's the catch. This is me, and without trying to sound pretentious, but rather just stating facts here, I am in the top 3 to 5% in the world for everything, pretty much, in XDefiant. Kills, score, assists, MVPs, wins, everything, right? I think it's fair to say that when compared to the average XDefiant player, which we see a lot of them, considering this game has no skill-based matchmaking, that I typically put up better numbers than most, right? So if this camo is going to take me 10 days of playtime to pull off, if I play completely optimally and utilize double XP tokens and quad XP and small map playlists whenever I can, then how long is it going to take the average player or even the below average player? Suddenly that 10 days of playtime turns into 15 days of playtime or even 20 days of playtime or more, meaning that this camo, for all intents and purposes, will be unobtainable for a lot of people outside of the select few of the most hardcore of the hardcore. Now, on one hand, I think there is room for a camo grind like this in a game like XDefiant, which plans to be around for several years. It's something for the most dedicated players to work for. I don't think that everything in the game needs to be accessible to everybody, and this rewards the most hardcore of the hardcore, and in theory, I think that's fine. But in practice, XDefiant right now is in a state where they are trying to win back the 8 million players that jumped on the game during its initial release cycle. Having grinds like this for the hardcore fans is fine, but I think it's a problem when it's the only path of progression in the game outside of unlocking attachments. At its core, XDefiant is a very casual game. It's a lighthearted, fast-paced, colorful arcade shooter, and as such, it attracts both a casual and hardcore audience, but right now, the game really does nothing for those casual players who, as we've learned from Activision, make up the vast majority of the player base. The roadmap that they gave us revealed to us that we are not going to be seeing things like proper challenges or a prestige mode coming until at least Season 3, which right now is slated to come out around Christmas time. So for the casual player base coming back to this game for Season 2, there really isn't anything here for them in terms of a grind. There's a new battle pass, which is better than before. There's the new map, the new faction, the new guns on the battle pass, but in terms of things to actually grind for, things to do in the game, there really isn't anything for the casual player base here. I will say the camo grind will get better when weapon XP eventually gets buffed to include objective score, which that's on the roadmap for Season 2, but it's not out as of right now. That will feel a lot better, but I think them adding in a camo that like 90% or more of the player base will never touch as your main point of progression is a major missed opportunity. I hate to compare things to COD here, but I think this comparison is apt, and hear me out on this one. In COD, to get to Prestige Master, it requires a ton of grinding, and that's okay. Not every player who plays the game is entitled to get Prestige Master. It's a long-term goal for you to achieve if you want to, if you have a lot of patience, skill, and dedication. Well, the new Pyroclastic camo that we find here in XDefiant is very similar, but once again, again, I think that would be fine if there was literally anything else in the game for people to work towards. Having this be the sole path of progression doesn't do anything for the casual player. If anything, they may log in, see this as the new camo, and be turned off by it because this new update didn't really add anything for them in terms of a grind. All they added was this thing that realistically they have no chance of completing. In Call of Duty, weapon camos are too easy. I think that's pretty fair to say. Like, I just went back to Modern Warfare 3 recently, right? And I got the STG. I love the STG. I remember COD World at War. It maybe took me an hour, maybe an hour and a half to completely level up that gun and do all the camo challenges and unlock Interstellar camo. It didn't take any time at all. It was way too fast in that game, and it would definitely be way too fast for a game like XDefiant, which plans to be around for years. But using my math from earlier, requiring an above average player 11, maybe 12 hours of playtime to finish one gun is just diabolical. That is painfully slow. There needs to be a middle ground, and perhaps this is more of a long-term plan for Ubisoft, as objective score will eventually be translated into weapon XP, and eventually Weapon Mastery 2.0 is going to be added to the game, which will certainly shake things up. We don't know anything about that, but that's something that's on the roadmap. So perhaps I'm looking at this all wrong. Maybe they just added this camo to the game now to let people get a taste of what's to come so they can start working towards these challenges while Ubisoft eventually slowly rolls out these updates in Season 3 and Season 4. I don't know. Either way, it was a really bad feeling for a lot of players yesterday when they signed into the brand new season, and the one new camo they added is this camo that basically requires them to dedicate their entire lives to if they want to earn it. I know there's gonna be some people out there saying, oh, COD fans just want things so easily. 12 hours for one gun to be finished, and you want me to do 23 guns? That's absurd. We're literally talking 10 days of playtime for a weapon camo that looks like the storm camo from Black Ops 3. You know what I mean? Like, I think the camo could look a lot better. Maybe they might end up changing that over time. It just, I don't know. This is the worst part of the update, in my opinion. I'm sure some people look at it differently. They like that long-term goal. They like that long-term grind to go for in the game, because we're always talking about how there's nothing to grind for in the game. But they didn't really change anything so far with Season 3 in terms of that grind. They just kind of shifted the goalposts yet again. So as compared to grinding up your M4 from 400 to 500, you now have to go level up your other assault rifles and your submachine guns and your shotguns and your marksman rifles, and your snipers and your pistols and everything else. And let me remind you guys how slow it is to grind these weapon camos up. The PP19 came out yesterday. I have had double XP activated since the start of the season. I put like 10 hours of playtime in and mostly only used this gun. It's not even up the bronze camo yet. And then once I get to bronze, I have to wait 50 levels for silver. Once I get silver, I have to wait 50 levels for gold. Once I get gold, I have to wait 100 levels for the purple camo. Then after that, 50 levels for the blue camo. Then another 50 levels to finally be at weapon level 400. It is a crazy grind. And for some people, I think they're going to enjoy that. I think other people are going to find it to be really tedious. And hopefully, this is something that gets added to and expanded upon over time and becomes a lot better. Now, when it comes to Season 2, going full circle here, I do think that the season as a whole is an upgrade from what we had previously during Season 1. Is it monumental? Is it game-changing or anything like that? No. I mean, they added a new faction, new guns are on the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass is better than before. The UI has been cleaned up quite a bit. Like, there's a lot of improvements. Search and Destroy is incredible, but we're still waiting for private matches to come out. We're waiting for objective score to turn into weapon XP. We're waiting for events and event challenges, as well as limited time modes. Then once Season 3 comes around in Season 4, that's when like the real meat and potatoes of the game are going to start releasing, like challenges, prestige mode, weapon mastery 2.0, new map types and new map modes and things like that. All that stuff sounds fantastic, but that stuff is in Season 3 and Season 4, which is Christmas and beyond. For right now, we have Season 2, which has a new faction, a new map, 2 more maps are coming, we have the 3 guns that were added, and Search and Destroy, essentially. That's basically what we got right now, and is that an improvement? I think so. Is it monumental or game-breaking, or is it going to be the thing that kind of like revives XDefiant for the entire community? I don't think so. I think it's an improvement for sure, but it's not like this is like XDefiant 2.0 or like a relaunching of the game. My honest opinion, and I say this as a Ubisoft partner, I have a creator code, all that stuff, you know, but you guys know I always try to keep things honest with you. Season 2 is honestly more of a filler season, because Season 1 was like the inception of the game, right? The preseason and Season 1, that was like the launch of the game, getting things going, you know, hitting the ground running, right? Season 2 here is kind of like a filler almost, as they continue to add new game modes and new things to the game. And then Season 3 and Season 4, that's when things are going to get crazy, because the game's going to feel a lot more complete at that point. This new weapon mastery system, the pyroclastic camo that you probably just spent 20 minutes talking about, that's going to be more fleshed out with all these updates updates and everything, especially come Season 3. It's probably going to feel a lot better than it does right now. In fact, I don't even think they plan on people to even have this camo unlocked, because there are, believe it or not, people out there who have every gun already in the game up to level 400. And they can't unlock the camo. It doesn't unlock. They can't use it. So I don't think they even plan for people to be able to achieve this, for crying out loud. But yeah, like, the camo doesn't even work right now. Eventually, that's going to be made better. The whole system, I think, is going to be made better. They just have it in the game right now to give us an idea of what we should be grinding for in the long term, which in some ways is actually a good thing. But when Season 3 comes out with prestige mode and challenges and like all that stuff, like the extra progression, that's what's really going to make XDefiant take that next step up, in my opinion. I think XDefiant's a great game. I was supposed to have this video out yesterday when Season 2 went live, but you guys know what I ended up doing instead? Streaming the game for 8 hours, because it was that freaking fun. The core gameplay of XDefiant is fantastic. I love it. The new faction is great. I enjoy playing the new map, grinding the new battle pass, trying out the new guns, and trying different attachments and combos. Playing Search and Destroy is such a breath of fresh air. This season is fun, but like I said, without those extra progression layers that we're going to be getting later on that have already been announced, it doesn't feel like the big resurgence that I think a lot of fans were hoping for. I think some people that maybe quit XDefiant back during the preseason or Season 1, maybe they were expecting Season 2 to kind of like shake the game up so much that they would just fall back in love immediately and this would be the only game they ever play again. It's not that kind of an update. We knew that when they revealed the roadmap. When they revealed the roadmap, we knew that the really big changes were going to be coming in Season 3 and Season 4. But what we have here in Season 2 is good, considering we knew this is what the season was going to be like. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you guys have it. There's my very long-winded review and discussion of XDefiant Season 2. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Leave your thoughts and feedback on the update down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.